Seth Lowell is a fantastic support for basically any anomaly team and pairs extremely well with Jane. Fortunately, he is also on her banner, which means you are likely to obtain at least a single copy of him if you pull for Jane, which would already fill out 2 out of the 3 slots for a Jane team. So let's talk about Seths Kit, his skill priority and best weapons, his best disk drive sets, main and substats, his Mindscapes, all of his teams, his combos, and lastly his pros and cons. Welcome, I am Rivenous and this is your complete guide to Seth Lowell. Seth is an electric defense type agent who specializes in short combos while taking nearly to no field time and inflicting a relevant amount of daze and electric anomaly, all while providing a shield to your teammates and increasing their anomaly proficiency. This makes Seth an extremely valuable asset for anomaly teams while also being relatively flexible and easy to build and play. Let's first quickly cover his kit. Fortunately, half his kit plays basically by itself, and that means we can keep this section relatively short. Seth has a 4-part basic attack with the 4th hit dealing electric damage, and any dodge counter, EX special or assist follow-up skips his basic 1. However, since you will likely never really use his basic attacks, none of this really matters too much. Seth features also his own special resource called Resolve, which can be charged up to 100%. Using his ultimate, chain attack or EX special accumulates 75% resolve, with this defensive assists recharging 25%. If Seth has 75% or more resolve when holding down his basic attack, he will perform an enhanced charge attack which consumes this 75% resolve to unleash consecutive attacks, which then will trigger a quick assist for the squad member positioned before Seth. This essentially allows you to switch from your DPS into Seth, do your combo and then switch back to your DPS. Let's talk about his EX special. His EX special can either be pressed or charged, and while the usual charge animation is honestly very long, you can also hold his EX special after any dodge counter, quick assist, chain attack or ultimate, which will significantly speed up the charge time required. His charged EX special also has some pretty insane daze, damage and anomaly multipliers, however, unless you do get the quicker version of his enhanced attack, it is not worth doing so, as our main goal is to cast his charge attack as soon as possible and spend as less time on field as we can. That means if you can do his charge attack, we want to do so directly after a dodge counter, quick assist, chain attack or ultimate. However, we want to just use his normal EX special if we cannot provide a shortened version of it. His core skill grants Seth a shield based on his initial attack lasting for 25 seconds whenever he uses his EX special, and while this can trigger once every 10 seconds, the shield cannot stack. Whenever he triggers a quick assist with his charged basic attack, his assist follow-up or his chain attack, the incoming agent will receive said shield as well, and any party member with a shield has their anomaly proficiency increased. In regards to his ultimate, dodge and assists, there's nothing special about these which I haven't already mentioned, so we will skip this part. His additional ability requires another character of the same faction or attribute, namely Sujuan, Qingyi, Jane Doe, Ambi, Grace, Rena or Anton, and when said condition is met, his chain attack and charged basic attack will reduce the target's anomaly build-up resistance by 20% for 20 seconds against all attributes. Since not all the units listed can make good use of said anomaly proficiency before, Seth is mostly relevant to Grace, Jane Doe and also Piper, more on that later. That covers what you need to know about his kit, so let's continue with his damage distribution and his skill priority. Since we will mostly focus on using his EX special, enhanced charge attack and assists, as well as his chain attack, obviously, his skill priority is his core skill first and foremost, to get this juicy 100 AP into basic attack and EX special, into assist and ultimate into dodge. In regards to his weapons, even though Seth is a defense unit, he does not actually scale with defense and instead he scales with initial attack, at least in regards to his core skill. If you are skilled enough, however, and by that I mean you can dodge and parry, basically use the game's mechanics, this stat does not matter much either and we can solely focus on his own personal damage. At this point in my pre-release analysis I said the following. Given his reliance on energy recharge and attack, that makes him pretty easy to build, at least for now, as we can basically just care about attack percent and energy regen. Turns out I make mistakes too, and we can actually just not do that, and instead we focus on an anomaly build instead, which not only helps his own damage, but also massively increases the overall team damage. This plays not only into his signature weapon, but also his best main and substats, and that means we can now finally look at his weapons. Unfortunately for Seth, none of the current defense weapons play well into his kit, well, none except his signature, and that means his signature weapon is his best in slot by quite a bit. If you do not have his signature, Original Transmorpher is the best choice in regards to daze, but it does require you to get attacked, and Spring Embrace is the best choice for his damage outside his signature, while also providing some ER for teammates. I personally would argue that his signature is the best choice, followed by Spring Embrace, followed by Original Transmorpher. For his disc drive sets, a 4-piece Freedom with a 2-piece Hormone or Thunder Metal are his best choice. If you do not already have a Freedom Blues in the team and you are playing him with another Electric Anomaly unit, which means as of right now, Grace. However, Grace can also run a 4-piece Freedom, especially if you pair her with Jane Doe in a Disorder team, and in this case a 4-piece Swing Jazz with a 2-piece Freedom is Seth's best choice, with either a 2-piece Hormone or Thunder Metal coming in second place. Regardless, for both, a 2-piece Shockstar Disco is another albeit less optimal choice. I actually would also argue Swing Jazz is nearly always the better pick, as I found no team except a Grace, Seth and Rena team in which Freedom would be a better choice. The reason here being is that Rena is an electric support which works well with Seth and especially Grace, and Rena can run Swing Jazz instead of Seth, which means Seth can just run his Freedom Blues and Grace can take the Thunder Metal. For his main stats, Anomaly Proficiency in slot 4, Electric Damage or Attack percent in slot 5, and Anomaly Mastery in slot 6 are his best choices. Impact is another, albeit worst option for slot 6, but I wanted to list it regardless, as mono electric teams profit from Impact more than Anomaly Mastery. The reason here being that Refreshing Shock is not gonna increase the damage dealt, and having a better stun application will be much more useful in this specific case. For his substats, since Anomaly is contribution based and Seth actually contributes quite a lot of Anomaly to Shock, in regards to overall team damage we want to first and foremost look for Anomaly Proficiency, then Attack percent, and lastly crit values, flat attack and flat pen. That wraps up his build, and we can now talk about his Mindscapes. They are okay. His M1 is honestly pretty good, since it basically allows for a permanent uptime on his Anomaly Proficiency buff and is probably the most impactful Mindscape he has. Not in regards to damage or daze, but in regards to his playstyle and honestly more so quality of life. His Mindscapes 2 to 5 are all okay. They are nothing groundbreaking, and I mean they provide some daze and some damage. And personally, while this can help again his personal anomaly application as well, it does not bring him anywhere close to the level of an anomaly unit. His M6 is a pretty big damage boost for himself, which is great, however it does not change much of his contribution to the team outside of said damage. However, it is pretty good, and I would argue his M1 and M6 are his most meaningful choices. And that brings us to his rotation, which is honestly just a very few combos. Actually only one meaningful combo, and this combo would be charged attack into switch after his quick assist triggers. That's honestly all. The question in regards to Seth is not his combo, because it honestly again is just 2 buttons, but how we gain the necessary resolve for him. And that is relatively simple to answer as well. We simply cast his EX special when you have enough energy, however since we do not want to on-field Seth, we either have to cast his normal EX special after switching him in, or his charged EX special with a reduced charge uptime after his chain attack. His chain attack has a small problem though, and that is not only do you need to queue him in last within the chain attack order with your DPS right before in the chain, because otherwise the quick assist will not switch to your DPS, but his animation is also really long. That means in most cases this is actually a DPS loss. All of this honestly mostly means build up your resolve with these sources on screen, which you see right now, and switch to Seth when possible to cast his enhanced charge attack. One more important thing, when playing Seth, make sure to have him in the right team slot. Usually, for example, if your DPS is in slot 1, then you want Seth in slot 2. Directly to the right of the carry you want to buff. That's honestly the most important part. For his teams, Seth pairs well with a multitude of anomaly teams, and I kinda will just list them here because I don't feel like I have to explain much. Since his entire kit is pretty anomaly focused, those are simply the teams he works in. Please keep in mind these teams are not all equally strong and they are not listed in any specific order. However, I have marked and highlighted his best teams, at least in my opinion, of each type with an orange name. Lastly, let's talk about his pros and cons. For his pros and cons, he is already very effective at M0. However, he also kinda wants his signature weapon as his other choices are not that great in comparison. His Mindscapes do not matter too much, which at least in my book is a pro, but it also feels less good to get more copies of him, which also makes this a con at the same time. At least he gets a lot of damage from it. He also is a strong contender for being pretty future-proof as an investment, likely holding his spot in anomaly teams for a while. Unless Caesar does change that, but we don't know. On the other hand, he is limited to anomaly teams, which means his team options right now are also somewhat limited. Well, to anomaly teams. And that wraps up this guide. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video, and leave me a comment if you plan on building Seth or not, cause that helps out the algorithm immensely and you help out me with that. I don't have sponsors and stuff, and iamrivenous sponsor was also missing today, so there's that. Thanks for watching. I wish you a great day. Peace.